Ranjam's had a genuine born-again experience. This is something that is not converting to a religion, particularly. But what it is it's an experience of seeing reality for what it actually is. Understanding and experiencing God and remembering who you really are. Who you were before you were born.
Please explain my direct experience with God. Okay, I'll do it. Let me start here. My brother had died in 2016. About a year went past there. I had been done with college, and I just basically let everything go in the sense that I wasn't really cared about my career. I was totally okay with whatever was going to happen in the sense that, like, I didn't have much ambition at that time. And I decided for fun, I'd studied all this stuff in college. I'm like, for fun, let's take a look at this. I'm studying both Eastern and Western theology for fun on my own, not telling a whole lot of people. And something started to click. And it led me to understand very, very quickly where the bridge between East and West is. I started to understand very, very quickly where God is, which is not just in a galaxy far, far away, which I knew this before, but the difference is I started to hear God without looking at books and without reading. I put all that stuff away. But I started to hear God through everyday experience, best way to put it, to the point where I started to recognize that at every turn of your life, in every given day, at every single moment, that God is speaking. And I was like, well, I thought that was kind of fun. I was like, well, that's kind of fun. You know, it sounds like something that a crazy person would say. But what's that mean? Well, it means that there was nothing that was happening by coincidence, but I was subtly being talked to. I just like to put it that way. And that's like, okay, well, that's cute. Well, maybe not. You know, you can be doubting Thomas if you want. So I'm going to put this stuff to the test. And I'm going to start aiming for the highest morality in every situation. Not because of salvation, not because of any other reason, but just for fun and out of love. Not giving a crap at all about any of the doctrines, but just aiming for God out of love and fun. Love and fun at the same time. So I started doing that on my own without really telling anybody about it. And I discovered through that process how deep that rabbit hole goes, guys. That the more that you do that out of love and for fun, that fun part matters, believe it or not. Out of love and for fun, which means, you know when you play video games or you watch movies, you're not doing it because you're trying to go to heaven. You know when you're out playing basketball or football, you're not doing that because if you lose the game, you're going to hell. You're doing that because you have a passion for it. So when you approach God that way, and you're not trying to beat down God, you're not trying to tell God what to do, but you're just trying to experience the what is and go, you know what, let's just see for fun. And pursue this passionately, like you would pursue skateboarding, but one that doesn't require any kind of results. All of a sudden, this stuff starts to open up. And at one point or another, I was going down that rabbit hole pretty deep, and I started to realize, it clicked with me that not only is God talking to me through all this, it's definitely the case that the people in my life, every single one of them are a lesson I've yet to learn from God that I've been ignoring my entire life. That's a humbling thing to recognize, isn't it? Your brothers and sisters, your mother and father, anybody who's left alive, especially people that are left alive, but even sometimes those that have passed, every person in your inner circle is like, there's a lesson from God there. That is everything they say purely good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a lesson from God there that we've got to, if we humble ourselves to it, we'll recognize that we've been going our entire lives and have been ignoring those lessons. But one day, when I realized this, I brought all my family over. I didn't say a whole lot. I didn't tell them. I didn't tell any of them what I was doing. I invited everybody, called everybody spontaneously at once to see who would answer my call. Because that was the first test. When you call all your friends and family and say, hey, can you come over here? Who answers the call and who doesn't answer the call? That was my first read. The people who actually showed up to that were the people that I needed to learn the most from. They were the people that mattered in that particular case. I had written them all down. And I was on a journey that day to try to, because I already understood that God can talk to me through the walls. I already understood that God's talking to me through all. I was getting it. I was like, yeah, sure, yeah. I can play basketball and the ball always bounces my way when I'm looking towards Christ. I got that. And I was like, that's just cute. That's cool. But I wanted to go ahead and just go for it, you know. What about the people in my life that are made in the image of God? What about them? You take that leap that I just said and you do what I just said. You invite everybody over, kind of like a Thanksgiving, but there's no holiday. I dare everybody who's in this live stream to do this. I double dog dare you, especially if you don't believe. Invite everybody in your closest circle. Now, if you've already got a family, like you've got 2 or 3 kids, still pay attention to them too. Pay attention to your wife, pay attention to your kids, and pay attention to all the people who come in, and ask yourself, what kind of lessons are each of these people supposed to teach me that I don't already know? What dark spots do they represent that God's been chattering? If you don't believe in God, you can say the universe. The lessons that the universe has brought them to me for. I'm just going to say God. Because in my case, I knew it was God. So all these people are in there, and I didn't say a whole lot. And my mom started in. I remember one conversation, I was doing a lot of listening, and she recognized that there was something different going on. Because I listen anyway. I used to not be a chatterbox. I spent a lot of time observing. Get one of these, like one of these notebooks. If you got to write things down, just do this as an experiment, not out of love for God. Just do it out of love for family and friends. It doesn't have to be just blood, because some people I called were friends too. Try to figure out why they're in your life and who they represent psychologically. And then if you can get the spiritual side, even better. I did that. And my mom came to me in a conversation. Everybody knows my mom passed away. But this is way before that. And she started in on that. You don't understand. And typically, it's responded with, no, you don't understand. But she was talking to someone who had invited her that day for a particular different reason, for a totally different reason. So when she started in on that you don't understand stuff, like she always does, I answered with, help me understand. Help me understand. I want to understand. Purely out of love, I asked my mother, help me to understand. You start doing that with your family and friends. You start doing that with your brothers and sisters. I don't care what religion that you're in. You're going to wake up to what's going on in your life. Every person met is a personal lesson from God. There's a lot of people who don't want to know that. A lot of people are not interested because it bursts their bubble of complaint. It bursts their bubble of pain and suffering. Because instead of pain and suffering and complaint, they got to take a humbling position. The same kind of position that Jesus says, take the beam out of your eye before you even try to take the speck out of someone else's. Why does he say that? Because every single person that we criticize in our life, every one of them, especially in our inner circle. Now, we can criticize the people in China, we can criticize the people in outer space, but the people in our inner circle that are put in our life, every one of them represent a beam in our eye, a pillar, something that we can't see, and we keep saying what? You don't understand. This is a lesson that me and my mother learned spontaneously in that day. And that was the last time she said, you don't understand to me. It was. I don't think she said, you don't understand to me ever again. She knew. She could feel it in my spirit that something was happening. Because after that, I started doing more things like that. I started writing down everything that I care about. I wrote down the top 5 or top 10 things in my life that I thought were important. Or at the very least, the things that I was attached to. I was going the Buddhist direction for fun. These are my attachments. These are the things that I think matter currently. And I'm not talking about like things I tell other people. I'm talking about things that control my conscious being. Like, for example, If I'm really, really attached to Magic the Gathering, I'm really, really attached to eating SpaghettiOs, whatever it is that's taking up the most of my time. If I was eating SpaghettiOs all day long, then I'd put that at number one. I don't care if I tell other people that family's more important, but if I'm eating SpaghettiOs and SpaghettiOs is the priority, then by God, SpaghettiOs is number one on my list. Be honest with yourself. So I was honest. I was totally clear. I didn't have to be dishonest with myself. There was nobody else in the room but me and God. I didn't have to be dishonest. What do I spend the most time on in my day? What am I doing? What do I really care about? And I started playing off these things. Like, what if I let go of this and this? What if this didn't matter, but this did? And somewhere along that, between the people version, me hearing starting to hear God coming from all directions, and me doing that, it was probably 1 p.m., something crazy. It was like really daylight. I had plenty of sleep. Okay. Drug-free. I am completely medication-free, completely drug-free, no antipsychotic medication, no antidepressants. I don't even take aspirin. The only thing I take is like NyQuil once in a while. But I was like that back then. So I'm not putting myself on a pedestal. What I'm saying is that I wasn't under the influence of anything but God. And everything else that I was under the influence of, I was calling out. I was calling it all out. Every bit of it. From people to inanimate objects. Every last thing. So at 1 p.m. or 12 p.m. or something along those lines, as if time itself kind of just froze. But it's not like it froze, but a lot of people might describe it something like that. But it was something like all of time was unified. And the hallucination of our life broke down. It wasn't that I was hallucinating. It was that this ongoing hallucination that we were experiencing dissipated. And I saw things for what they really are. And it was God behind that. And it felt as if, like I said, it's really hard to describe. That's why many people write books, I suppose. But you know it's not the devil because there's nothing else that really exists but God. The devil can't trick you there. And you feel every single emotion at once, at the highest level. From tragedy to love to sadness, all of it. But the most that you feel is love. You realize that all these emotions are in fact actually the same emotion. It's this intensive, highest love to where I could feel the love of someone who's totally evil, guys. That God would love an axe murderer as much as he would love the greatest of saints. At that intensity. God loves those people equally. And it's really hard to describe. And you realize that every single thing that's happening is happening exactly the way it's supposed to. And you see the past, present, and future. You know why you were born. You remember who you were before you were born. And in order to get out of that state, you have to willingly, with your free will, which some people think doesn't exist, you have to be willing to let go of something from that experience in order to come back like this. And when you do, I would say for at least the first day, you forget the character you were playing. You remember who you were before you were born, but you forget the character you were playing. You forget your name. You only remember who you were before you were born, and you only remember your purpose. That's the best way to describe it that I can at the moment. Something else happened. Many other things happened, but I don't think you guys would believe me. Honestly. I don't think you guys will, but because the reason why is because it's hard to describe. But you realize that there is free will in the world, but the truth of the matter is that it's mostly determinist. That determinism thing, that destiny thing is true, but if you're a conscious and you come face to face with the living God, you experience free will. Experience free will. Deeply. And it's almost as if the entire universe could change at any time. It's almost as if when you come down from that the whole world transforms because of it, not just you. It sounds blasphemous. It sounds crazy. But I will say that in my particular case, when you come face to face with God, and God is there, loves you so much, would give you anything. Would give you anything. Imagine God is a genie for a second. Imagine you have God appear before you and you're like, anything you want. You want to be the lead character in a Star Trek movie and that's your life? Go for it. But you realize that every bit of your life is exactly what you wanted. The good and the bad. That He already granted you your desires. And it's hard to explain. It really is. It's really, really difficult. So even though that you can have anything that you want, there's nothing more that you would want more than being in the direct presence of God and or doing your purpose. The purpose, your vacation, your life itself that you are in is a gift from God. It's God showing you something that you asked for. Even if your life sucks. And it's really hard to explain. After you have that experience, you have a post-traumatic stress kind of thing. Because that intense emotion, you can feel it ringing like a bell. And within days or weeks of it, I'd wake up feeling like it was coming upon me again. Like somebody comes back from war. Okay, I ain't kidding. And I've had that happen a few times in my life. I had that happen a few years ago while I was driving. That's why I was listening to something. And it almost, so I'm just telling you that it is a real experience. It's not like, it's something that it's hard to forget. But apparently it's possible. And you cannot deny God after that because you have seen God. The thing that's challenging is, can you put it into words? It doesn't really matter if I convince other people. It's just what matters is that we focus on the love part. The rest of it will work itself out. So if anybody in this live stream thinks that the devil can trick you into thinking that you come as an angel of light and you believe that, well, if whatever it is that you're experiencing is the Alpha and Omega, or is time itself, past, present, and future, is the highest form of love that you can imagine, that you love someone just as intensely no matter how good or evil they are, that's not the devil. Spoiler alert. You can't be tricked like that. You can be tricked if an angel comes and you see something kind of supernatural and that thing says that they're God. But if you feel that, what I just described, you have seen God. If the devil loves that much, then my goodness. It's pretty incredible. Every person in your life is a walking lesson that you need to learn. One of the things I got from that experience is I discovered that one of my jobs was to process my family's business. And your jobs are very similar to my jobs. My job. Your family's business is part of why you're here. You're not just here to be a missionary in Saudi Arabia. You were born into the family that you're in specifically because you are on a mission related to that family. It's not a roll of the dice. So, like I said before, that experiment that I said before, write down all of the people that are in your closest circle. I don't care whether you're Christian or not. Write down all of the people in your closest circle, all your family and friends, and on one given day, get up in the morning, call them all and invite them over. And in that day, be focused on who they are and what lessons that they present in your life that you need to learn. If you do that, even if God doesn't appear before you, you will get a lot out of that. I've been on New Game Plus. It's as if I died and came back. I beat the game, saw God, and I come back on New Game Plus, and I've got new things to do. If you're born again in the Spirit, and it don't feel like New Game Plus, you probably missed something. And you should go back. Do the mission. Whatever it is your mission is. And then you'll get to New Game Plus.
Remembering who you are besides the character that you play. What actually happens is when you go through this, it's almost as if you have died and seen the other side. That's what it feels like. When you have this experience, it's as if you know everything for a moment. You know past, present, and future. You know exactly why everything is the way it is. And you understand that everything has to be just the way it is. And it's exactly how your life has been intended to be. It's exactly actually what you want. And when you come back from it, if you come back, because you may not come back from it, if you come back from it, you have to remember who you were playing, the character you were playing. That is a genuine born-again experience. If you have not yet experienced this as a Christian, you need to open up your Bible. You need to take the time and pursue the real teachings of Jesus Christ, because I guarantee you they will trigger this experience.